So now you begin. Yes, Samita.
Namaste and good afternoon to our professors and dear scholars. I would like to express my deep gratitude to our respected Professor Dr. Komal Fuyal and Dr. Thalal Shrestha for this privilege. Today here we have a very short presentation on Gandhi, India and the World by Chandra Guha. As assigned by respected Professor Komal Fuyal, we are 4 members in our group. Me, myself, Samita Lamichhane, and will be followed by Mr. Manoj Lama sir and Arim Khanka sir. Eventually, Thaneswar Chalisa sir will be at last. As per our plan, I will be dealing with section first and section second of this essay. Manoj sir will look at third and fourth section. Similarly, Arim sir will go through fifth and sixth, and Thaneswar Chalisa sir will be looking at the remaining portion of this essay, that is 7th, 8th, and 9th. Let's get started. This essay, Gandhi, India and the World, portrays a vivid picture of the father of India, the man of virtue and truth, and his non-violence resistance called Satyagraha, which was so much popular throughout this world, and his contribution in South Africa, critiques on Gandhi, and his widespread influence philosophy, that is simple living and higher thinking. This essay can be taken as an eulogy on Gandhi by Chandra Guha, who is valued as one of the most brilliant historians of late 20th and early 21st century. As we all are well known that Gandhi was born in Western Indian port town of Porbandar in 1869, educated in Rajkot and London. Gandhi had started his legal and political career from South Africa. Gandhi being the source of inspiration for millions of people throughout the world, the quality of far-sightedness, strength of undying patience made Gandhi Mahatma, a great soul in the eyes of his fellow Indians. Gandhi became one of the most charismatic and creative leader of 20th century. As mentioned by Chandra Guha, a foremost writer, South Africa was a land of opportunity for ambitious and energetic Europeans. Gandhi arrived in South Africa in 1893 to settle the dispute between two Indian merchants. After going through this essay, I have noticed that South African government had dominated over Asians. Transvaal, South Africa's economic powerhouse, had brought the Asiatic Ordinance, which tried to end Asian immigrants. Similarly, the Natal Legislative Assembly was also considering a bill to deprive Indians of the right to vote. Because of this pathetic and miserable circumstances that was being faced by Indians, Gandhi became the leader of the South African Indian community. First of all, Gandhi had propounded, or let's say formulated, his political philosophy, that is Satyagraha, or new methods of wrongs and fighting oppression without hatred and violence, to fight against injustice and class division done by racist South African in Johannesburg, the golden city of South Africa. The Indian held a mass meeting in Johannesburg in the leadership of Gandhi. So Gandhi had dealt with Africa's oppressive regimes and racist society. From the very moment Gandhi had started his journey of resistance with the support of unprecedented mass of fellow Indians situated in South Africa. That's why we can easily say that South Africa was the land which taught Gandhi the value of human dignity. No doubt, Chandra Guha has presented Gandhi's uprisal as a resisting hero. According to Chandra Guha, Gandhi was highly influenced by the renowned Russian figure Leo Tolstoy's notions of pacifism and non-violence resistance to evil. Tolstoy believed that in the matters of faith, any individual should be inclined any individual should follow his own inclinations and his own conscience, rejecting all the creeds and credos that is being imposed by ancient scripture and authorized clerks. During that time, Gandhi became the headlines of many daily newspapers. Several mainstream news had admired Gandhi's and his success history throughout his weapon of protest, Satyagraha. A Tamil paper published out of Madras praised the wonderful determination of Mr. Gandhi and his followers. Similarly, a Kannada paper printed in Bangalore saluted the leadership of that jealous servant of India, that generous and heroic person is Mr. Gandhi. Similarly, a Telugu weekly in Guntur raised for many mythic parallels. Gandhi, the leader of the resistance, was like the hero of the Mahabharata, Arjuna, brave and fearless. This is all about Gandhi from my sections. As we know that many literary discourses written on resistance undoubtedly declared as a resistance hero to Gandhi. But several times a question appeared to my mind is that why Gandhi was assassinated by his own community member? Why Gandhi got an unfortunate death? What sort of things, or let's say, which actions of Gandhi became much self-destructive towards himself? By leaving these questions in the floor, I'd like to provide the very platform to Mr. Manoj Lama. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samita ma'am. I really appreciate. Thank you so much, professors, and I'd like to thank my friends as well for having so much patience to listen to us. So I dealt with like chapter 3 and chapter 4, and chapter 3 and 4 is all about like how Gandhi rose to the fame and like how he made that position politically in starting from South Africa and like in India especially. So the very beginning of the chapter starts with like Gandhi like being politically active in South Africa. So here he represents like almost like 150,000 Indians in Natal, and he wrote the first thing he did in South Africa was he wrote a pamphlet like demanding that educated Indians be given the franchise, and the same like so they like the West always believed that Indians and like the people who are like really poor, they would never fight for the rights and all that thing. But with the approach of Gandhi, everything changed. And even one of the like Cambridge scholar saw and like said that it's an epoch-making change taking place in the relation between East and West, whereby the Japanese and the Chinese and the Indians would no longer accept exclusion and disability on grounds of race. It was increasingly clear that those whom Europeans had dismissed as inferior people were not inferior in capacity. They claimed, they demanded, and deserved equal right. So it's one of the things like the West saw like when Gandhi rose and like tried to go against them. And later on, like in October 1909, like Gandhi wrote to an influential Indian editor that the Congress should concentrate its attention on the South African struggle and they should learn from South African struggle. So we see like Gandhi coming from South Africa to India, that's in 1915. And what he says is like he believes that even like Indians should be like especially like in part of like Gandhi for knowing about the nation, like he should be traveling around India and like getting to know the land and all that thing. And he made his special like public appearance at the opening of Banaras Hindu University in February 1916. And we see other things like he believed that rather than concentrating on the elite people like lawyers, doctors, or the rich landlords, he believed that his way of like salvation must come through the farmers and all that thing, because most of the population in India like belong to the farmer group. So these are the things, and we further see like two of the campaigns in his home in Gujarat. The first one was he intervened in a labor dispute in Ahmedabad, and the second was he joined the peasants in Kheda in asking for the remission of taxes. And furthermore, we observe and we see the things like Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and we further see his active campaign in like Rowlatt Satyagraha, from where like Gandhi actually became a kind of like a true national hero, and he like approached like a very like unorthodoxically, and he even like approached the Muslim leaders to restore the caliphate, and like and to go against the colonial rule of like British. So and all these like all these kinds of like campaigns actually shook British Raj, and they were like shaken there like because of these things. And from there on, like people started believing like Gandhi is some kind of like supernatural power, has got like supernatural power, and he was entitled and he was given the name Mahatma. And people believe that most of the people in India at the time, they believe that he has got some kind of miraculous power and all that thing. And we further see like a few more events in chapter 4, that is like an Independence Day is observed there. That's on January 26, 1930, and he again like go for like one of the most popular like Salt March. So these are the things that is explained in chapter 3 and 4, which I was given by our professors, and I would like to pass to Arim sir like for further elaboration of this chapter of like Ramachandra Guha. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Manoj sir. Namaste and warm greetings to the respected professors and their friends. As assigned by ourselves, let's say, as per our plan, I'm going to deal with section 5 and 6 of this essay by the historian Ramchandra Guha. In a sense, as explained by Samita ma'am and Manoj sir, this essay is a sort of, let's say, eulogy of Mahatma Gandhi and his widespread influence among the people from all walks of life. Despite his popularity, despite his influence among a huge number of people across the world, this section 5 is a bit different. It is not entitled, but based on the content of this section, I have given the title Critics at Home. So it's not that all the Indians, all the people from all walks of life, they, let's say, praised Mahatma Gandhi. There were people, influential ones, who had also been London veterinary like Mahatma Gandhi himself, who had studied law like Gandhi himself, and they were against Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi himself was obviously a resisting hero, but there were other influential figures who were resisting the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi on various grounds. Okay, the first one is there are 3 individual critics who critiqued Gandhi's ideology, who did not, let's say, believe what Gandhi did, who went against Gandhi, who spoke against Gandhi. And there were 3 individual critics and one group critic. The first one is Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. His name is Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. So once this man used to be the proponent of Hindu-Muslim cooperation. So he, let's say, spoke, he advocated for Hindu-Muslim cooperation, collaboration once in the past. But as he started turning out to be like a Hindu extremist, then he was elected as the president of Hindu Mahasabha. So there was a party, and in 1937, he became the president of Hindu Mahasabha. And that party basically, let's say, accompanied or worked together with Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. And this Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, was established or founded in 1925. And this Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, also was advocating or speaking for the, let's say, domination of Hinduism or Hindu religion. So in this sense, obviously Gandhi himself was a Hindu by religion, but he was, let's say, quite flexible or quite lenient towards other, let's say, religions as well. And these extremists, let's say, groups, followers, and this Savarkar who led this Hindu Mahasabha, they felt that Gandhi did not stand. Gandhi was too flexible. He was, in a sense, let's say, he was appeasing other religions and other religious people. So they were against Gandhi, this man, and other followers. One of the critics is Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. In the same way, we have next critic, as mentioned by Guha in this section. His name is Muhammad Ali Jinnah. We all know this man. He is known to have been the designer of the new nation Pakistan after the partition of India. And what he did, or why did he, let's say, speak against Gandhi, though huge mass of people followed Gandhi? The reason is he felt at some point that the long-held relation, the long-established relation between, seemingly, let's say, harmonious relation between Hindu and Muslim could not go ahead any longer, because there were Hindus majority and there were Muslim minority. And until and unless minorities were, let's say, given a special platform or were recognized by the state, there would not be any chance of equality in India. So he started, let's say, carrying out campaign against Gandhi himself. And he felt that it's very difficult for modus vivendi in India until and unless these two communities, let's say, basically Hindu and Muslim, they, the Hindus recognize the rights of Muslims. And he led this party named Muslim League, and that ultimately resulted into the partition of India. And Jinnah once said in a speech, the hero of one is a foe of the other. So this one I have just quoted from this essay itself. The hero of one is a foe of other. So he was obviously indicating at Gandhi. So obviously Gandhi was a hero for millions of people, let's say. In the same way, there were other people for whom he was an enemy, like Muslims. So it was the charge of Jinnah on Mahatma Gandhi. And only the numbers, let's say, had influence, like Hindu majority, Muslim minority, and they had to fight against this sort of discrimination in India, and that resulted in this unprecedented violence and all those things because of this formation of new party and while fighting for the rights. And then he even, let's say, warned time and again that if their rights are not addressed on time, there will be violence, there will be unprecedented unrest in the country. He even charged time and again. And it seems Gandhi could not stop. He could not stop despite his effort, undying effort, let's say. He could not stop the partition of India. This is second critic of Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. We have third critic, and his name is B.R. Ambedkar. So we have heard this man already in our course itself. So he belonged to the group of untouchables. And one thing I like to tell here with focus is that B.R. Ambedkar, he was fighting for the electorates of untouchables like Muslims. Muslims had been, let's say, already guaranteed electorates by the British rulers there, the then British rulers, while the untouchables were not granted electorates in India. And he was fighting for the separate, let's say, seats or quotas or whatever. In the same way, they would be in the forefront in the nation. But while he was fighting for this, and as a result of this fighting, the British, let's say, rulers in India at the time, they also granted electorates for untouchables as well. As a result, what did Gandhi do was, he observed the fast unto death. He never wanted untouchables to be granted the separate electorates in India. And this is where I really didn't like Gandhi. This is where, because just the untouchables were granted separate electorates for their rights and justice, he went on to fast on to death. This is given by Ramchandra Guha, and I believe this must be the real history. So in this regard, and what had Ambedkar to do was that he had to call back. He had to, he had to call back, or say he had to withdraw his campaign, his protest, because if he continued, that might, let's say, take Gandhi's life, because he had been observing fast unto death for a long time. And this is where I myself want to critique Gandhi, where he didn't want to recognize the rights and justice for untouchables. This is third one, B.R. Ambedkar. We have four, it's not individual, it's group critics. They were communists. The party was formed in 1921, and they were, in a way, they believed in liberating power of violence. So we know Gandhi never loved, Gandhi never enjoyed, advocated for violence, but these people who were, let's say, communists, as mentioned by Guha group communists, and they said that, they even charged Gandhi that his notion of satyagraha is effeminate and supine. So they charged